My name is Zainab Awan. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I moved to Calgary in 2009. I got married and moved out here with my husband Andel. Together we have 2 kids. Raisa is 5 and Adam is 1. And I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
My name is Kelsey Andrews. I'm 30 years old. I'm an amateur Muay Thai fighter, gym owner, and personal trainer in Calgary.
My name is Genevieve Morrison, and I've been wrestling with the University of Calgary Dinos Wrestling Club for 7 or 8 years now, and now I'm aspiring to go to the 2016 Olympics in Rio.
My name is Sandra Bastian. I've been training in the art of Muay Thai for 16 years now. Never thought I would be here 16 years later, still in the same sport, but this is where I am. I have an older brother, and I do remember when he was left in charge of my sister and I that somehow he always got us fighting and wrestling. Maybe that would be one reason why I got into this.
I was born in a very small town in Quebec called Campbell's Bay, and I lived there till about the age of 4, but it's still what I would call my hometown because that's where all of my relatives and my parents are from. It's very friendly, and it's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone's aunt and uncle and grandma and grandpa, and it's an awesome place to, when I go home, to just relax.
I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, the blizzardy colds of northern Alberta. We were a pretty normal family, you know, mom, dad, 2 daughters, and everything changed after they divorced. I think that's kind of when I really started to get angry, but didn't have anywhere to put it. I saw the effects of the divorce on my mom and on my sister and on myself, and those were really difficult years. When we moved to Calgary, that's really when it went downhill for me. It was that junior high year. I was in the laundry room doing laundry one day, and I remember just thinking in my head, I'm like, I should just start puking. So that's what I did. But pretty quickly, like, I looked like hell. I was so small. Like, I'm 6 feet tall, and I think at my lowest point, I was like 120 pounds.
My parents migrated to Canada from Pakistan about 30 years ago. So we kind of grew up in a sort of strict household. When we went to school, we weren't really allowed to interact with the opposite gender. It was more, if we had to partner up with somebody, my parents would always say, okay, well, try to do it with a girl. Don't partner up with a boy. My parents they asked the Manitoba Islamic Association to write up a letter, and the letter said that because of the gender interaction in the gym class, it wasn't appropriate for a Muslim girl, especially a girl that wears hijab, so I was exempt from gym for all those years. It was hard, seeing everybody else, you know, participate in all these physical activities, and I wasn't really allowed to.
I played volleyball, I played basketball, I played field hockey, ran track. It was very, very, very positive for me, athletics, in high school. So we go to this tournament, and I remember this boy that was my friend coming up to me and being like, are you okay? Like, you look horrible. You look sick. Like, if things aren't good, please tell me. Like, I'll help you. And I kind of got in my head. Came home and went to get in the shower. And for whatever reason, I decided to sort of stare at myself. And I was bruised from my thigh to my rib cage, like black. And I just started to bawl. And it was in that moment that I was like, what the fuck am I doing? That was a really big turning point for me. And really, I think, was the first time that I truly started to fight for myself. I acknowledged to my mom that I had a problem. And so we started going to my doctor, and I was getting weekly weigh-ins. And my reproductive system was completely shut down at 16. That was really scary for me because I did want to have a family eventually, or at least have the option of having a family. And to know that I'd done something that had ruined my chances at something that so many people say is the greatest thing they've ever done in their life, it broke my heart. I remember just being so frustrated because I was eating at this point and I was working my ass off like I always do, and I was still losing weight. So even though I was eating, I was still shrinking. And the doctors didn't believe me that I was eating. My mom didn't believe me. And yeah, it was really tough. At that point, I was a vegetarian and I started to eat meat again, which was huge for me. That's when everything changed. I started gaining weight, and that was sort of the beginning of the journey, I guess.
When I was in grade 9, my family moved to New Brunswick, where we spent 2 years, and that's where I got into wrestling in the first place. These two girls asked me if, they're like, we're gonna go to practice on Monday, you should come with us. And I fell in love with it right away, and I made friends in the process.
My oldest son, Dylan, and kept begging me to take him to karate. So I finally took him in. 3 years later, actually. He was closer to 7 years. I dropped him off at one of his classes and noticed on the other side that they were teaching adult kickboxing. I had 3 small boys in an unhappy marriage, just finished fighting a bout of cancer. I had to have surgery for my cancer and woke up not knowing if I was gonna have an arm or not. So when I woke up and seen the arm was still there, I thought, well, this was a good opportunity for me as well to do something for me. Then when I decided that I was gonna start kickboxing and whatnot, my husband at the time decided that it wasn't, it's not something I should be doing. So it was probably all within a span of like 2 years that I realized that my whole world was shifting and changing.
Pull it back this time. There.
Don't throw so hard.
Muay Thai for me, I think it really became my thing a couple years ago. My buddy was like, hey, you should meet Trevor. Like, I know you're interested in learning how to box at the time. And I know Trevor's back is a little bit messed up, and maybe you can help him with that.
You guys have to hook up. You have problems, and she wants to learn martial arts. She's like, she can help you with the body work, get your body back on track, and Trevor can show you how to throw a punch properly.
Trevor and I meet, and we basically trade services. So I'm stretching him and sort of helping him feel better, and he's holding pads for me. Every time I left those pad sessions, I just felt so strong. So I just kind of was like, okay, I can do this. This is really fun. Push. Push.
I can still remember when I first started with her is, it was one thing would hurt, and then it would be like, okay, that's okay, but now this hurts. It's like, okay, and she's like, yeah, no, it's all connected, and then slowly it got stripped away, and finally I feel, the best I've ever felt. Like, I wish I had her when I was competing.
I think what really got me started into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was that when we started our KJR Academy about 2 years ago, my daughter was in the class and she was 3 at the time.
She liked it, and I guess maybe as my wife saw me teaching the techniques to her and saw my daughter actually using the techniques and applying them, she kind of probably fell into it. It was like, this looks cool, my daughter could do this, so why can't I?
I always thought if it's important for kids, it has to be important for adults too. And when I saw her rolling on the mats, and I just kind of envisioned her growing up and doing this for the rest of her life, I thought, well, why am I not doing that? If she's outside on the street somewhere and I'm with her, I want to be able to protect her. You could say it was my daughter that inspired me to further my training in jiu-jitsu.
You're cursing me.
I just loved the energy of it. I had never sweated profusely like that in my life, and I had been in all sorts of sports, but this was something that really made you sweat and really got your adrenaline pumping. One of the things that I love most about it is that you drill these techniques and you kind of go through all of these patterns, and then when the whistle blows and it's actually time to scrimmage, your body just takes over. It's just a lot of fun. Early on, I went to my first nationals only 6 months into wrestling, and I actually got a silver medal. So I was only months into wrestling when I really made the decision of like, I want to make a national team. Finally, in my 3rd year, I made the national team for the U16. Then from then on, I qualified to make one national team or the other ever since.
It was pretty tough. The other women in the class that I had started training with were already training months before I started. I was kind of the underdog in the class, I guess. There's only 3 of us, but I took it in stride and I just kind of rolled with it and just went at my own pace. I had tears sometimes. I was constantly getting tapped. That's just the learning process, and I didn't realize that until afterwards. It takes years, it takes months, and it takes hours and hours of training for you to perfect to a certain level.
Definitely wrestling program was my top priority when looking at schools. What really attracted me to Calgary was just that it was the strongest and largest women's wrestling team in the country. There was 4 or 5 world medalists just at the weight class either below me, my weight class, or the weight class above me, which were all the ones that I would be training with. And for months, I don't even think I had any clue what was going on. I was in a whirlwind. Girls were beating me up and I didn't even know how I was getting taken down. I was just trying to last on my feet for as long as possible. It really paid huge dividends.
Heavy. And I was 28. My coach at the time, he said, "Hey Sandra, do you want to try fighting?" And I laughed and I said, "Yeah, I should probably give it a go before I turn 30. You have no idea what to expect the first time you go in the ring. I remember the first couple of minutes of fighting that I wasn't breathing. One of the guys that I was out in Winnipeg with who also had his first fight that night, I remember him yelling, "Breathe, Sandra, breathe." And I went, "Oh yeah, that's way easier." She just came at me and just started hitting, and I can remember shelling up and taking, 2 or 3 shots and me thinking, what the hell am I doing in here? Sensei Gil said, "You know what, Sandra, if this is the path you're gonna take and you want more fights and you wanna get better, you need to go train under Mike, because he is the best of the best in the city." So I went and spoke to Mr. Miles, and he's a very intimidating man. Told me to show up Monday at 4, fighter starts at 4, be here.
Good. Good elbow.
The day that everything changed was when he decided to teach me the flying elbow, a sibo jiao. So Trevor's like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do." And he puts his pad up and he's like, "Go for it."
Good. Yeah.
And it hits the pad, and I remember him looking at me and his eyes were like huge. He was like, "I have to see that in a fight." And I kind of looked at him, I'm like, "Oh, well, I kind of think I've always wanted to fight." And then I knew, I'd said it, so now it's happening. It was a bit of a blur. I remember going in, being really aggressive off the bat, got through, won by unanimous decision.
It was a great first fight. She was just on a whirlwind, probably emotionally and physically, mentally, everything. And she came back and she had the look of somebody who did not want to be there.
Got to the back room, sat down, had a water, thought I was having a panic attack. And it was terrifying, but it was also really relaxing, and I felt very calm afterwards. A few days later, after the dust had settled, I was like, I think I want to do that again.
The first one, that was the only time it happened, because 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and now up to 8 fights now, she's just been focused.
The best of the world go to the World Championships. And the first year I went, in 2004, my goal was to win 1 fight in Thailand. Well, I left with a silver medal. When I went back in 2006, I thought, well, I should at least try to attain exactly what I did last time. I won the gold medal that year. It was pretty overwhelming. The Thai TV was there, the newspapers were there. It was because this girl was supposed to win. She didn't. And that was the year I also won the best female athlete of the tournament. You tell me that I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong. You can't hit harder, yes I can. You can't kick faster, oh yes I can. As soon as somebody tells me that there's something I can't do, I like to prove them wrong.
Because my whole life I've been told that, Muslim women is supposed to act a certain way and be a certain way. When I started jiu-jitsu, I just realized that I'm capable of so much more. I've always been a skinny person and I've always had a small frame. So when I started jiu-jitsu, I was shocked that I had the strength, and I feel like a part of me has been hiding for 27 years and all of a sudden it just came out.
Nice. I know women that are way tougher than a lot of men, just, mentally, physically.
I believe wholeheartedly that people come into your life for a reason. I think he came in to help me find my happiness and my power and my soul.
Having women being able to do a sport like this, it'll give them the confidence, right, to pursue whatever they want in or out of the ring.
When I came to the end of it, I had to really decide, okay, is wrestling something that just went along with my university career, or is this something that I want to really pursue at the next level? I'm married, and I'm putting off, potentially a career or starting a family because I want to really commit to this dream. It's only a few short years where I could just really pour all of myself into it. And all of my support system, my husband and my family and my friends are all in it with me. And that's a really exciting thing.
Nathan and I met in university. I was a senior athlete on the U of C Dinos wrestling team, so it was my last year I was graduating, and he was a rookie, he was brand new. He and I started dating and basically decided we were gonna make it work. My own insecurities and anxieties about being in a relationship and my food crap and all that body image stuff started to really come up when we started to see each other. Then, as our relationship progressed more and more, obviously we're talking about, maybe getting married and, hey, that would be cool to have kids. And I'm like, yeah, babies are awesome. And then I really start to think about it. I might not be able to raise these kids effectively because I'm whacked in the head about food. And it was then when I actually shared that story with one of my clients. And she sits on the foundation of Juno House, which is a counseling center for girls and women with eating disorders, issues with cutting, anxiety, depression, all that kind of stuff. And my client said, you should meet my friend Lois. I think she might be able to help you. I called Lois up and I said, Lois, here's my deal. I want to get better, and I want to be a great wife, and I want to be a great mother, and I want to be a way better person than I am right now, and I'm ready to do the work. We went through and we talked about all sorts of just horrible crap, stuff you never want to tell anyone, and you start to feel better. And I had this idea to use Muay Thai to help other girls. And I said, listen, Lois, I really want to do something for Juno House. I'd like to create a program that we can use where, when they're ready to graduate, they've sort of dealt with their stuff, they're ready to start moving again, and they want to get their power and their strength back. I can teach them how to hit. Jab, cross, body cross. And I have an awesome, solid crew of women who are coming out to it. Okay, try it again. Good, knee. We have a couple Juno House grads in the class, and then we also have just a bunch of other radical women that have decided that this is what they want to do. Thanks for coming. Barb, you killer.
Once I started learning after my son was born and I started training a little bit more, my husband sort of kept pushing me to start a women's class. He always just wanted me to start teaching other people because the more you teach, the more you learn. At first I was a little bit apprehensive because I knew how these things work in the Muslim community. Nobody responded. Nobody wanted to do it. I emailed about 20 people. So then I thought, okay, maybe I need to step outside and just widen my scope and market to the greater Muslim community. For some reason, out of all the women in Calgary, all the Muslim women in Calgary, I only got 2 people to sign up for classes. They're all, I guess, told just the same way I was, that men do certain things and women do certain things, and the two just don't combine. So I think a lot of women struggle with that. They just have to step out of that box, try it, and see where their strengths are.
If I met a young girl intrigued about the sport, what I would do, I would probably wrestle with her. To just show her how fun it can be when you're just wrestling and wrestling freely, and when you're not focusing on what does my body look like in this singlet, or I'm not sure what move to do. Because those are all things that once you just have the courage to just get past that, then you move into freedom zone. And freedom zone when you're wrestling is euphoric. It's so much fun.
We'd like to start a family, and it's tough to be a high-performance athlete and a mom at the same time. So that's something that we're always talking about and trying to figure out what that's going to look like down the road.
I admire the women that have children and fight. I hope to be one of those women. What a great role model for your child to know that, you know, your mom can be this crazy beast in the ring and then come home and snuggle you and put you into bed.
So when I would go, oh, well, my mom, she could beat up your dad. Oh, no, she can't. Yeah, she can. You don't know what she does. She's definitely helped me become who I am, and I owe everything that I am right here, right now, to her.
As any parent, we want to teach our kids that, you know, you got to work for what you want. They realize that they need to work hard if they want to get somewhere in life. Watching me do what I do over the few years is that dedication and the love of something can really grow and make you happy. The very first time I ever had to walk him to the ring for his first fight, I thought I was going to be sick.
When I first started fighting, she was the worst cornerman ever.
Walked to the ring myself lots of time, but knowing that I'm putting my son in a ring, it was really hard.
She would scream at me, yell. I fought really sloppy. I got beat up bad. She was yelling at me a lot to keep my hands up. But she's gotten 10 times better.
I have to kind of separate myself from being his mom and kind of turning on coach face. The one thing that I think anybody has to take away from this sport is humility. Somebody out there is always going to be a little bit better, and you can lose on any given day.
There's no level that I can reach that will, I guess, give me complete satisfaction. And that's part of what makes good athletes, is that they're never really fully satisfied. My worst moment was at my second time going to the Junior World Championship. At that point in my career, I always just followed the formula of work as hard as you can, buy into the plan, do everything they tell you, and success always came. On the day of competition, I wrestled flat, and I came in 9th, I think, which is respectable, but it was nowhere near what I was going in for. It really shook me. It was my first time that I not only didn't accomplish my goal, but it seemed like I was so far off. And that's when I really had to ask myself the question of, do I love wrestling or do I love winning? Loving winning is not enough. You're bound to lose, and you're bound to struggle more days than feel great. It was probably the most necessary step in my career.
The hardest thing is getting older and my body getting slower. Realizing that one day that I'm gonna be 80 and I might not be able to throw a jab cross.
Religion is always going to be important. Culture is going to be important. But to have something that's extracurricular for kids, it's important for their mind, it's important for their confidence, their self-esteem. And I think a lot of parents that come from foreign countries, they overlook that. Now that I've started classes and teaching other women, I hope that it expands and it becomes a lifelong thing.
No.
A lot of families go on vacation and go hiking and stuff, and we do jiu-jitsu.
I still train. I have people that I teach and train. I've recently been appointed by IFMA as the female rep for Canada in the sport of Thai boxing. It sure has made me appreciate what I've learned. When I started, you never heard of a female headlining an event. Now you have females headlining events all over the world. Women, you know, we don't belong just at home raising kids. We can stand up and we can fight.
My greatest moment was watching Carol win the Olympics. And we had spent the whole summer training with Carol and really seeing all of the ups and downs and really going into the Olympics, you know, ranked maybe 5th or at best 3rd. And at 3 in the morning, we all got up and we put it on TV. And as the seconds came down on the clock, I looked around and I was crying myself. And I looked around and all of my friends and teammates, they all just had tears and no one was saying a word. And we were just crying. Such satisfaction to see it all come to fruition and then at the same time bring so much hope and desire.
When I'm on the mats, I have all this adrenaline going, my heart is pumping, and it's just amazing because the person I'm grappling with is usually stronger than I am, usually bigger than I am. The fact that I can flip them over, or choke them out, or tap them out, it's so empowering. I know that if I'm ever on the streets or if I'm outside with my kids, if somebody were to try to attack me, I know that I have a fighting chance.
I think from when she was very timid, when we first met, till now, it's like a huge change. She's way more confident, and she's just more outgoing, I would say. And she could deal with anybody.
It's shaped so much of who I am. Discipline and hard work, but I think more than anything is the relationships that I've built in the community has just been amazing.
And I just did it for fun. I just wanted to do this for my own benefit. Never did it for any real recognition.
Good job.
Muay Thai has completely changed my life. It provided me with an avenue to find strength, peace. I know that had I not found this, I probably wouldn't be the person I am today. Having found this sport has made me a better wife. It's made me a better friend. It's made me a better instructor and teacher. And I'm excited to be able to continue to give this sport to other people.
Growing up, I always thought martial arts is something that only a man does because you have to be strong and you have to have muscles and you have to be aggressive, and most women are not. They're just naturally not as aggressive. And I think that that's what stops women from doing jiu-jitsu. I think that women just have to believe in themselves, and they just have to know that as long as they try and they give it their all, their strengths will just come out.
One of the best memories I had is when I fought in Winnipeg. And there was this one camp. It was a all-girl camp. I remember they walked up to me. They go, "Bastian." "Yeah, that's me." "Your mom's Sandra." "We love your mom. We love everything she's done for the sport. She's such an inspiration at her gym." I'm like, wow, like that's really cool.
It's still a realization that I'm trying to wrap my head around, that I have made an impact in this sport, especially for females, looked up to by not just little girls, but little boys as well, that I'm looked up to just by my own kids.